I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this. But last night, I was lying on the kitchen floor, the taste of iron filling my mouth, watching the ceiling fan spin in lazy circles, and the only thought in my head was, maybe she's right. My wife Veronica isn't the kind of person you'd ever describe as violent if you met her in public. She's the picture of charm, petite, perfectly styled hair, the kind of smile that makes strangers smile back. She bakes cookies for the neighbors at Christmas. She sends handwritten thank you cards. Everyone loves her, and maybe that's why no one would ever believe me. Behind closed doors, though, that smile is something else. It's a blade, a warning, a countdown to something I can't stop once it starts. I've learned to read the tiny shifts in her expression, the way her jaw tenses, the way her eyes narrow just a fraction of an inch. When that happens, I know to brace myself. It started small, always small. A playful shove when I said something she didn't like. A light slap on the arm when I teased her about being late. Things couples do, right? You don't make a big deal out of it because love isn't perfect. You tell yourself it's nothing. You tell yourself everyone fights, and I believed that. I wanted to believe that. But last night something snapped. Not just in her, in me. And I'm starting to wonder if this marriage is killing me in slow motion. The first time it truly scared me was over something so stupid I can barely say it out loud. Dinner. I'd forgotten to take the chicken out of the freezer. It was one of those long days at work where I came home running on fumes, and the last thing I thought about was defrosting meat. Veronica stood there in the kitchen, holding the frozen pack like it was evidence of a crime. She didn't yell. She didn't even frown. She just tossed it at me hard. It smacked my shoulder with a dull thud. I winced. She laughed. And like an idiot, I laughed too. Because if you laugh, it means it's not serious, right? That night the bruise bloomed purple and yellow. I stared at it in the bathroom mirror, brushing my teeth, and felt something uneasy in my chest. But I told myself it was stress. She'd lost her job that week. Things were tense. It wasn't her fault. I didn't know it then, but that was the first time I chose to ignore a warning sign. And every time I ignored one after that, they got louder. The pattern didn't form overnight. It crept in, like mold in the corners of a room you never check. Some mornings she was perfect coffee waiting on the table, a quick kiss before I left for work. Other days, the smallest thing would set her off. My shoes left by the door, the wrong brand of cereal, forgetting to reply to a text fast enough. I started keeping mental notes. Rules, almost. Don't joke before she's had her coffee. Avoid any mention of her mother. Never, ever bring up money unless she does first. It was like living with a loaded gun on the table. Most of the time it just sat there harmless. But you never forgot it was there. And you never stopped wondering if today would be the day it went off. People think abuse is constant screaming, obvious bruises. Sometimes it's just waiting, waiting for the shift. 2 weeks ago, my sister called me during dinner. Veronica didn't say a word while I took the call. She just sat there, chewing slowly, her eyes locked on mine. When I hung up, she smiled and changed the subject. The next morning, I went to get in the car for work. As I was sliding into the seat, she slammed the door on my hand. Pain shot up my arm and I yanked my fingers free. "What the hell, Veronica?" I shouted. She tilted her head, her voice calm. "Then stop giving other women your attention." I just stood there stunned. My sister. She was talking about my sister. And yet a part of me, a small, dangerous part, wondered if maybe I had done something wrong. You might think I'd leave. But it's not that simple. Because when Veronica is in a good mood, she's perfect. She'll make breakfast, leave little notes in my bag, pull me into a kiss in the middle of the grocery store just because. Those moments are like sunlight after weeks of rain. They're intoxicating. They make me forget everything else. And maybe that's the point. I'd tell myself, she's under stress, or it's not that bad, and ride the wave of her kindness as long as I could. But the wave always crashed. And when it did, it hit harder than the time before. Last night was one of those crashes. We were in the kitchen. I told her I couldn't give her brother any more money. We're already deep in debt, rent late, credit cards maxed. She didn't yell, she didn't cry. She just stood there silent. Then she grabbed the plate from the counter and threw it on the floor. The shatter was deafening. Before I could even react, her fist connected with my mouth. It wasn't the pain that shocked me, it was the speed. One moment we were talking, the next I was tasting blood. I remember leaning against the counter, feeling my knees tremble and thinking, this is it. This is the moment I leave. But I didn't. I slept on the couch that night. Not because she told me to, but because the bedroom felt like enemy territory. I lay there in the dark, my lip throbbing, listening to her footsteps upstairs. Around 2 a.m., I heard her come down. She stood over me for a moment, then sat at the edge of the couch. I could feel her eyes on me. "You know I love you, right?" she whispered. I nodded because what else was I supposed to do? She kissed my forehead and went back upstairs. I didn't sleep at all after that. The next morning she acted like nothing happened. She made pancakes, even poured me a second cup of coffee without asking. When I caught my reflection in the microwave, the split lip, the faint bruise, she leaned over and kissed my cheek. "You should be more careful. People might get the wrong idea," she said and laughed. It sounded playful, but it wasn't. I realized something that morning. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she wanted me to know she knew. I started keeping a journal. Not because I thought I'd need evidence, I wasn't planning on leaving, but because I needed to remember the truth. When she's good, she makes me doubt the bad. The journal filled quickly. Dates, times, incidents. The slap in the car when I didn't answer fast enough. The way she accidentally spilled coffee on my work shirt before an important meeting. And sometimes, I'd read back over the entries and feel like I was describing someone else's life. Someone weaker, but it was me. One Friday night, we went to dinner with friends. She was perfect, laughing at my jokes, holding my hand, resting her head on my shoulder. On the way home, she was quiet. When we pulled into the driveway, she turned to me and said, "Why were you looking at her like that?" I had no idea what she meant. I tried to ask, but she was already getting out of the car. Inside, she threw my coat on the floor and slammed the bedroom door. I spent the night alone again. No blows that time, just silence. Somehow, that hurt more. It was the silence that got inside my head. When she hit me, I could tell myself it was a moment of anger. But the days she just ignored me, that was calculated. I'd wander the house trying to stay busy, hoping she'd speak to me. I hated how desperate I felt. Sometimes she'd break the silence with a single word, usually something like pathetic. Then she'd smile. I don't know when I stopped thinking of her as my wife and started thinking of her as something else, something dangerous. A week ago, I found a note in my jacket pocket. It wasn't in my handwriting. "Next time it'll be worse." That was all it said. No signature, no explanation. But I knew who it was from, and I knew what it meant. I burned it in the sink before she could see me reading it. Yesterday morning, she stood by the front door as I got ready for work. "You've been quiet lately," she said. I told her I was tired. She stepped closer, brushing invisible lint off my shirt. Her fingers lingered at my collar. "Don't ever get tired of me, Sam." It wasn't a request. That evening, I stayed late at the office. Not because I had to, because I couldn't face going home yet. When I finally walked through the door, she was sitting in the dark. No TV, no phone, just waiting. "Where were you?" she asked. I told her the truth. She didn't believe me. She stood, walked over, and slapped me so hard my ear rang for an hour. Then she went to bed without another word. I've started thinking about leaving. But every time I imagine it, I remember her good days. The way she used to be. Or maybe the way she pretended to be. I don't even know who the real Veronica is anymore. All I know is that the person I married isn't the person I'm living with now. And maybe, and this is the part that scares me, maybe she never was. Tonight, it happened again. Another argument, if you could even call it that, and another bruise to add to my growing collection. This time on my ribs. The pain comes in sharp bursts whenever I breathe too deeply. I honestly don't even remember what started it. Something about the mail or a phone call I didn't tell her about. It doesn't matter. The reasons change every time, but the outcome is always the same. Right now, I'm in the bathroom with the door locked, sitting on the cold tile floor. My hands won't stop shaking, and my phone screen keeps lighting up with her messages. "Come out, we need to talk." I can still hear her pacing in the hallway outside, each creak of the floorboards making my stomach knot tighter. I know if I open the door, it will be worse. But if I don't, she'll make sure I regret it in some other way. I've been reading over my journal entries from the last 6 months. There's a clear pattern now, one I was too blind to notice before. Every violent outburst is followed by a period of unsettling calm. Sometimes it lasts a few hours, sometimes a week. In those stretches, she's the perfect wife again, cooking my favorite meals, laughing at my jokes, even suggesting weekend trips. And I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, things are changing for the better. But they never are. The calm is just the inhale before the strike. And every time she tests her limits, pushes a little further, hurts a little more. I think she's trying to see just how much I'll take before I break completely. And the truth is, I'm scared she's getting close to finding out. This morning was one of those calm moments. She woke me up with breakfast in bed, pancakes, strawberries, even a glass of orange juice without pulp, exactly the way I like it. She sat beside me, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "You're my everything, Sam." I almost let myself sink into it, almost believed her. That's the dangerous part. She knows exactly how to make me forget the bruises, the fear, the nights I sleep with the bathroom door locked. But when I looked up at her, I caught something in her eyes. It wasn't softness. It wasn't love. It was possession. Like a hunter making sure the trap is still holding. I realized then that the breakfast wasn't a gesture of love, it was a reminder. I belong to her. I think she knows I'm planning something. She's been more watchful lately, her questions sharper. Where did I go? Who was I talking to? Why did I take so long to get home? She started checking my phone when she thinks I'm asleep, scrolling through my messages with that same cold focus she uses when she's about to lose her temper. I've even caught her looking through my jacket pockets, like she's searching for proof of something. 2 nights ago, she stood at the bedroom door and stared at me for a full minute before saying, "I don't like secrets, Sam." Then she smiled and turned off the light. I didn't sleep at all. If I disappear and this story is the only thing left of me, don't believe it was an accident. I'm ending this here because I hear her coming up the stairs. The footsteps are slow, measured, like she's giving me time to think about whatever's about to happen. The sound stops outside the door. Silence. I can picture her standing there just listening, maybe smiling to herself. My phone is in my hand, but my fingers feel numb. Part of me wants to run. Just grab my keys, push past her, and never look back. But another part, the part she spent years shaping, is frozen, waiting to see what she'll do next. If I don't post again after this, it's because she finally decided she was done waiting. And maybe I was too.